on telehealth. I don't know how many of you guys are still doing telehealth or not. We've gone back face to face, but we're also doing some virtual therapy as well. And it's going really, really well for the most part. I'm kind of pleasantly surprised, or shocked actually might be the right word. We've got some of our learners who, I would have thought wouldn't have done very well in virtual, and they're thriving. And I think one of the biggest reasons is because parents are in the room with them, and parents are seeing what we're doing, and then they're following through, when we're not on the session. And it's going really, really well. But we've posted a bunch of stuff, and we should have done it sooner, is we've posted a lot of stuff in the, on the resource for that. So let me show you what we posted there for just with respect to virtual therapy stuff. So if you go down to helpful resources at the bottom here, down here, all the way down, I put in a section called virtual therapy. So here's some guidelines and consent form that we've done. And this guideline and these guidelines and consent form, basically it's just saying, hey parents, we send this out to all parents right before they start virtual therapy. And we say, hey parents, just an FYI, here's what we expect from you, and here's what we expect from your kiddo when we're doing virtual therapy. And in there it outlines, like, you know what, your kid shouldn't be calling from bed. I don't think I said this on my last webinar. It's like, I was consulting into a session a couple weeks ago. It was probably more like a month ago now. And the student was in bed with his stuffed animals and not doing very well in the session. It wasn't going very well at all. No wonder. But parents weren't home, and grandma was there, and grandma has no instructional control. I was actually shocked that parents were, or that the student actually logged in by himself in the first place. So he logged in, but couldn't get himself out of bed. It was interesting. Anyway, so there's their consent forms. We also have some outside links. So here's some other really great resources. So I'm not sure if you guys joined our webinar way back when, when COVID first started, so back in March. We had Tina Patterson as one of our guests on there, and she was so amazing to share her Google Drive with us. So here's a link to her Google Drive and all the resources in her Google Drive. So she keeps adding to it as well. But she's got a bunch of stuff, just like here's a task analysis for telehealth and how she runs her sessions. Here's some research articles for it. Here's a script for families to, tell them about telehealth. Here's some authorization forms, etc. So it's really, really a great resource. And the other really great resource is somebody, Megan Miller. She was also on our webinar, and she was amazing as well. She also shared her Google Drive with us. So she's got some example packets and some recommended reading, and then some other stuff regarding telehealth. So go on there if you're still looking for that stuff, and basically check it out. There's some resources for the virtual therapy stuff. In terms of an actual task analysis or program per se about how to get kids to respond to telehealth, we don't have anything like that. I find that every individual is different. Like I said before, it's like, the kids I thought wouldn't do very well are doing amazing, and some of the kids I would have just guessed are doing horribly are actually doing very well. So very interesting. Shira, do you have anything else to comment on that?
No, I've been lucky enough to really not have to be doing most of the virtual therapy. And I totally get that it's such a challenge. I know that the people that I know who are doing it have found like the boom cards to be really helpful, and you can create your own decks. And I know like a ton already exists in terms of boom cards to use those that make it more like interactive and stuff. And it's really just like requires a ton of creativity and like really thinking outside the box and making it work for each kid and tapping into what their motivation and reinforcement is going to be, and remembering that not every kid is going to do well virtually. So if it's not working, like it may not work.
So I have a love-hate relationship with some speech pathologists. Some of them I really, really love, and other ones you're just like, whoa. But for the most part, like, they do really great work. And I was watching an SLP session last week over virtual therapy, and this speech person was phenomenal. She was so amazing. She had these PowerPoints, and she kept this 5-year-old super, super engaged for an entire hour. And I was like, wow, how did you just do that? It was fabulous. And she shared this resource with me. It's called the Green Screen Speech Therapy. It's a Facebook group. I joined, they let me join. I'm not an SLP, but they let me join. And what's really cool about this is supposed to be for your Zoom virtual background. So you're supposed to be able to set this up as your Zoom virtual background. But a lot of people will just use the PowerPoint. So they've got PowerPoints here that have been shared, and they'll use the PowerPoints and just share the screen for speech or for ABA therapy, teaching, etc. But there's a lot of really cool ideas that people have. So I'm in the process right now of trolling this and seeing all these ideas and figuring out what I'm going to do with those. But again, a really great resource that's called Green Screen Speech Therapy on Facebook group. So another great resource.